So it's where we depend on others for our self-esteem. Codependents usually have few, if any, boundaries. Boundaries are all over the place. Boundaries in every direction. We are over supportive, overextended. We overreach and we overcommit, and then we're full of resentment. So we live in this yo-yo existence. They're the dedicated, tireless workers and contributors, often martyrs, secretly get a wee buzz, a wee joy out of being a bit of a martyr. And it's fine to be dedicated. Well, you'll find them in all the caring professions. You'll find that the NHS is full of codependent workers. It wouldn't survive without them. So there is an aspect of this where we need to say, long live codependency, because we're all in big trouble without it. But, the doctors, the nurses, the social workers, the teachers, the therapists, the coaches, you'll often scratch the surface and you'll find the codependent underneath. And there is nothing wrong with caring and loving and wanting to help and wanting to fix things. It's when we do it at our own expense and it becomes toxic, that's the problem. It just gets out of control. So, when our actions are misplaced, like not wanted, my friends don't want a therapist. My friends want a pal. They don't need a therapist. When we lose our judgment, when it's not deserved, we need to be careful about where we're investing our time. It's where we can't live our own life. It's like we've not got enough sense of our own identity. We so want to be needed. That becomes our identity. To be loved, to be highly regarded. We can't say no, and we'll often let others walk all over us. But if we look under that saintliness, there's a toxicity there, because really what we're trying to do is seek to control. That's the real payoff. The real payoff is control and manipulation. I can make my world much safer if I have the clipboard and the pen and I am taking care of you. Then you're much less of a threat to me, because I'm in charge. I'm the big person. I'm the therapist. I have the answers. Of course I bloody don't. So the looker afterers, the copers, and the nice people. There's a nice wee joke about, my husband reminded me of it last night, when the codependent person is dying. Most people see their life flashing in front of them. The codependent doesn't see their life flashing in front of them. They see everybody else's lives flashing in front of them. The songs, or the codependent songs would be, people who need people are the luckiest people in the world. And some of the writers on this subject have said things like, actually the healthy version of that would be, people who need people are usually the most miserable codependent people in the world. You are the sunshine of my life. You're the cream in, you're the cream in my coffee. You're the salt in my stew. You make me feel brand new.
That's a Glasgow expression. You're the salt in my stew. So romantic.
It's this idea that I'm nothing without you. That's a scary
You complete me. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So they're often unreliable. They'll make promises that they won't fulfill. They can be real bullies because they are very controlling and manipulative. And they may also be addicts too. That may be.
Is this the person that's the codependent?
This is the codependent. May well be an addict.
The enabler. The enabler.
No, often addicts will have traits of codependency there, whether it's food or alcohol or drugs. But mainly when we speak about codependency, we speak about the relationship addict. That doesn't mean just a love relationship. I was going to say,
because the relationship can't work without the enabler and the codependent.
Absolutely. It often takes two, baby. Yeah. So no sense of self. We over-identify with our role. I am a therapist, that's who I am. So that's what my friends get. and that's not what my friends want. I over-identify with the role of mother, or I over-identify with the role of doctor, or I over-identify with the role of coach. You know, this is who I am. It's not who you are. It's something you do some of the time. When we're being codependent, we'll often rush into relationships that go wrong. We'll jump in. Compulsive is a word, an adjective that is often associated with codependency. So there'll be the workaholics, the hobbyists. They'll always need to have a hobby. Their whole world is fixated outside of themselves. Overachievers, people who are driven. And why? Because they feel so empty inside. They need to fill this emptiness with ceaseless stimulation and activity. They never get a sense of satisfaction. They never know when to stop. They don't know the meaning of the word enough. And there's a rage and a resentment that will inevitably percolate up when they're not appreciated or when they're overworked.
Yeah.
They don't like themselves very much, and they've got no idea how to love themselves. So although it was originated in the 12 steps, over the years we've begun to realise that this is not something that's confined to the 12 steps. We're all on it on a sliding scale. We're all codependent to some degree, and as long as we're down the lower end of the scale, it won't be causing us too much of a problem. But you know, wanting to really explore today in what ways we become the fixers that need to solve and need to save the world, who feel over responsible, people who want to avoid conflict at any cost, jump in, the almost like the cleaner, you know the people that go in after the SAS or the spies have committed a murder. There's a cleaner that goes in and cleans up the scene of the crime after it. The codependent tends to take on that role. They'll agree. They'll try to fit in. They'll sell themselves out. They'll go along with things that they don't believe in and they don't agree with. They don't really have a strong sense of their inner values and don't trust. Yeah. They feel that they somehow must try to work much harder than everyone else, won't speak up for fear of rejection. They don't know their own feelings and needs. They've never really stopped long enough to find out. And there is no value in me if nobody needs me, if there's not another person out there that needs me. So that's where the addiction comes in, the attraction to partners with addictions. But the main one is the lack of boundaries, high stress, and underneath it all, a pathological loneliness, or you could call it a toxic loneliness, because it's a secondary problem. It's a result of, I'm not going to say it's a result always, but it's usually a result of early life. Fundamentally, usually it's a secondary problem coming from the past.